Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Action Comics number 43. This was part of the New 52 line, and I actually enjoyed this arc. This was part of Hard Truth, and if you never read the New 52, yes, a lot of it did have problems. But one thing I will say, I didn't like it when it first happened, but they did this really obnoxious event called Convergence, which was... yeah, we're not gonna talk about Convergence, but afterwards they did this like kind of lead into DCEU or whatever, which marketing. But they shook up the characters. So, for example, during this time period, Hal Jordan was, I think, like a renegade Green Lantern what's the word I'm looking for? Channeling the central power battery to get the Green Lantern power. They semi-killed off Bruce Wayne, and Jim Gordon took over the mantle of Batman with that giant mecha suit. And then Superman, I think, was the most interesting. Reason being is because what's always made him accessible and, relatable is, yes, he's an alien with these superhuman abilities, but he just wants to live like any other human being, enjoy his life, and save others when he can. So there's always the human aspect that made Superman interesting. Now, why I liked this is they semi-depowered Superman. So there was a free comic book issue, which we will go over eventually, and we see that Superman is going to the Fortress of Solitude. He's been banged up, and he goes to access the door, and it can't read his Kryptonian DNA. So they think that it's a stranger. And so what the Fortress does is it takes his Superman suit away. Because the New 52 Superman, his suit wasn't the cloth that he was swaddled in when he was a baby, like pre-Flashpoint. His was like nanotechnology to a degree. So when the Fortress of Solitude takes it away, it looks like it's deconstructing off of him. So he doesn't have a suit. He is broken down and doesn't know what to do. And then what kind of led up to this issue is during, I think it was the Jeff Johns era, before he got depowered, Lois ousted him as Clark Kent. So the whole world knows that Superman is Clark Kent. So with the talk of him being depowered and what Lois did to him, the Metropolis police come to his neighborhood to apprehend him because he's a vigilante. Now, before we even get into why he's punched this officer, let's talk about who did Hard Truth Part 3. This is Greg Pak writing, Aaron Cooter doing, Aaron Cooter. Words is Pak and Cooter. Colors is Tomu Moray. And I'm assuming Aaron Cooter is the artist as well. Letters, Steve Wands. Here's everyone working on the book. And then Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. I had to stop and think about that. So when the police come to take Superman in his neighborhood, the entire town backs with him. There was actually a very controversial cover for, I think it was issue 42 that was on the news, where Superman's holding these chains against the police, which, yes, there's that kind of social commentary, but it's not, they don't lean heavy into it. They just kind of took elements of what was going on during the time and put it in the book. And Superman's talking about, like, why am I punching this cop? He goes, is it in anger? This isn't what Superman's all about. This is bad. So this police officer is really goading Superman on. So spoiler alerts, if you haven't read this, please make sure to go check it out, and then you come back, and you're back. This isn't really a police officer. There's these shadows that have been kind of haunting Superman, and he's still trying to figure out who is behind this, who's behind depowering him, and it goes on for a good long while. But while the shadows attack Superman, the police are saying, stand back, Superman, because they still see this character as their commanding officer. There's another officer named Bringhampton, I think you have pronounced her name, and she jumps in to help the Man of Steel. And she's actually a very interesting character. She's brave, she's loyal to her friends, she does have some flaws, everything that you need to flesh out a character instead of making them one-dimensional. And just the way we dive into the action, very, very interesting. And now compared to some of the other comics I reviewed, the action's great, but the story is that much better. It enhances it, because Superman's trying to think of how this is happening. Why would how did they get into the police department? And while he's fighting, I like how the use of the paneling here. You see the mayor of Metropolis looking at Jimmy Olsen's website, and then you see all these things here. And what's happening is, as Jimmy's shooting, his smart camera is uploading immediately to his website. So we're getting all these photos of the carnage going on in Superman's neighborhood. Now Superman goes back to his apartment when the smoke settles. And again, a little bit of social commentary, but it makes sense for the thing, because now people know that Superman's been hiding amongst them instead of just being like a watchful protector all the time. So, he comes into his apartment and says, "Go home, alien, Earth is ours." And you would think that this would break the Man of Steel. But instead, they don't know the mettle of Clark Kent. He goes to everybody, and he says, "You're brave when I was scared, and I'm never gonna be forgetting that." He's saying things are just too dangerous. He goes, "I hope that what happened here was just one bad cop, but this is bigger, and we just know that they're not gonna stop." And then he sits down to address him. "I'm not strong enough for this. Not anymore. I can't be here to protect you every second. I'm going to do everything I possibly can, but it won't be enough. You should walk away now. We all should. But if you're going to stay, you have to protect yourselves and one another." And the artwork's a little flat, but I like how, again, ignoring that, because the pastels, it looks very muted. But the idea of how there's a sea of people in Superman's neighborhood, and he goes, "You're all Superman now." And so without having to really ask them, they all begin like, "Hey, who has EMT training? We need you over here." And for those of you that know this, they start organizing so that if the police come to try to take back their neighborhood looking for Superman, they'll be ready and organized. They're talking about setting up neighborhood watches. And then after all the cool action, a minute of cool down, the plot starts to pick up again. And I don't want to give this away on what's happening, but yeah, overall, it's a really good read. I know it's a short review, but sometimes when a book is really good, you don't need to really dig deep into it. And that's kind of how this book was. Yeah, it's not one of those first appearances or big events, blah, 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 blah. It's just a really interesting human interest story, for lack of a better term. And that's what I think I really enjoyed about this time period, because it ran through Action Comics and Superman and the other books as well. But the two primaries was this. I don't want to give away how Superman got depowered, because you find out at the end, and you kind of find out how, at the end of this arc, how we transition from the Earth 52 Superman back to the original Earth Prime Superman that we see now in a Rebirth. So yeah, I like that they decided, hey, we're just going to go off the rails here and do something different and shake Superman up. And that they did. So I give them a thumbs up for trying and doing something just completely different with the Man of Steel. It made for some really good reading, particularly, as I just said, in this issue. So if you have enjoyed this comic book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and grab a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Definitely helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little super bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love to hear your feedback and talk with y'all down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. And another thing I would like to mention is on social media, I did post a photo of some things that were given to us for the club, and this was one of the comics that was given to us. So at our next event, this will be one of our grab bag items. So whoever wins this comic book, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did reading it. So with all that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.